What's up, guys? Welcome back to another live stream here on the David Rams YouTube channel. So some of you were already here. You were expecting a debate with a Sadhguru follower. Unfortunately, that guy didn't show up. We waited for an hour. What are we going to do? Hey, so sorry if that's what you came for, but we've got something that's almost as interesting. Obviously, not going to be quite as spicy as a debate around Sadhguru against someone defending him his anti-vegan BS. But this is definitely not going to be a korma. Okay, it's not going to be a mild korma. This is still going to be a bit spicy because we're going to be reacting to a video by Humane Hancock, Jack Hancock. I say that because I'm going to refer to him as Jack. No, I'm not going to keep calling him Humane as we go forward. So if you didn't know his name's Jack. And yeah, so basically he did this video just recently, literally yesterday, I think it was. And it's my take on Cosmic Skeptics no longer being vegan, right? So, and it's an interesting video. It's one that I watched it through, and then I thought, okay, I think I've got some criticisms here, some things that I don't agree with, although, you know, I say that I've got respect for Jack. I've got nothing against Jack. I messaged Jack earlier today because I predicted this Sadhguru guy wouldn't show up. So I said, Jack, listen, mate, I'm going to do a stream later today. I'm going to be reacting to your video probably because this guy's not going to show up, I reckon. And he said, yeah, no worries. Thanks for letting me know. So just to let you know, there's no hard feelings here towards Humane Hancock. We're not, you know, clashing heads or anything like that. I've got nothing against the guy. But this video is a pretty spicy take and that he gives. And I think I have a spicy take about his take as well. So I figured, you know, it's the backup for the failed debate, and this is what I could get ready. Okay, guys. So this is kind of it doesn't replace the debate, but I guess it's still a little bit of sort of YouTube drama, isn't it? So I'm trying to give you guys something. Okay, trying to give you guys something. So all right. First off, who's here? Did you guys all come over? Got Justin here. Hello. We got obviously Annie's still here. Mark. Anon, Watch Dominion 2018's here. Mark again, you popped up. Lily Veg, what's up? Hello, guys. Stupid Vegan World is here. Hello, Naomi. What is up? What is up? What is up? Hello, everybody. Guys, as we go through the video today, and we do a reaction, remember, if there's something you want to tell me, something you want to express, some opinion, something you want to ask me, some comment you want to make, use the Streamlabs link, which is right there in the pinned comment, and I'll react to whatever you've said and give you an answer pretty much right away, as soon as I see it. Or use the super chat option, you can do the same thing, okay? So keep that in mind, guys. Otherwise, I'm going to be mainly focusing on the video because it's a video reaction, so I'm going to have to focus up. But yeah, that's an option that's available to you guys, okay? So, shall we dive into the video and see Jack Hancock, Humane Hancock? I say kind of defends Cosmic Skeptic because he kind of does, kind of doesn't. You'll see what I'm talking about as we get into the video, okay? So let's start. Let's dive in. Are you guys ready to dive in? Are we ready to do this? Let's click start. Let's see what he says.
Like many people, I was really disappointed when I found out that Cosmic Skeptic wasn't vegan anymore. Having a well-respected activist with such a large platform come out and say that he started eating animals again, well, that's going to cause more animals to experience the horrors of animal farming and slaughterhouses. I think we often talk about this issue in quite abstract and philosophical ways, but what we're really talking about here is obscene. I mean, we're talking about unbearable suffering, and I think it's important that we don't lose track of that.
Yes, absolutely true. I couldn't agree more with that. I've spoken to you guys about this before, about how there's a lot of people on the other side, obviously, on the anti-vegan side, they like to talk about this stuff philosophically. They like to go into theory, and they don't want to talk about the real, like, this is real, this is not theory, this is really happening, and it's really annoying. It's really frustrating. So I like that he opened the video up like this, and I really appreciate that. 100% agree with what he said there. That's something I really feel strongly about. Yeah, guys, is the video audio out of sync you guys are mentioning on Jack? Is it really that bad? Because I can try and attempt to fix it, but it's tricky. So if it's bearable, then just you know, we'll just keep going ahead. But you guys let me know in the chat.
But I think the Cosmic Skeptic drama can provide an opportunity for reflections that can encourage the animal movement to be more effective. I should qualify this hot take with the acknowledgement that this stuff is really complicated, and the world is messy, and there's lots of uncertainties here. Like, does anyone out there genuinely feel like they know what the fuck they're doing?
So, I mean, honestly, the first time I watched this, at this point, I like Jack, of course. I like his work, but I feel like I tried to be charitable when he said this stuff here. But it kind of feels like it's an excuse and kind of apologizing before he's even made his point. And it kind of says two things to me. Okay, now I know what's coming in the video, so this is why I feel like it's this thing. It's either you say this kind of thing when you're not sure about what you're about to say. You say, look, hey guys, I don't really understand, who really knows what they're doing, right? And then you go on to kind of speculate and stuff like that. So that's one way. Or you say this when you know what you're about to say could potentially cause a massive backlash, but you know what you want to say. You've decided what you want to say. You've thought about it, and you're going to say it, and you're just kind of predicting a backlash. So you try to be like, I don't really know all the answers. So it's one or the other. And kind of my point here is like, if you're not really sure about what you want to say, then you probably shouldn't say it until you're sure. And if you are sure about what you want to say, you probably shouldn't say things like, hey, it's complicated. And it's like, well, don't make excuses for it. Then just say it then. Just own it, right? I feel like this was kind of like a preemptive, like, okay, please don't be angry at me because I'm going to say some stuff. But it's like, just own it, man. Like, if whatever you've got to say, clearly you've thought about it. Clearly, you've got something you want to say, so just say it.
So in my opinion, Alex O'Connor has been an incredible voice for animals. He's encouraged a lot of people to take this issue seriously. And my perspective is that he doesn't need to be vegan in order to continue doing so.
So, you see, you just said exactly what you wanted to say. And you try to preface that with, oh, well, I don't really know what I'm saying. You've thought about this a lot, clearly. So, just own it. And this, you said it the way you said it here, is like ripping off a plaster. Or I guess in Alex's case, like blasting one out in a remote field, in some woods in a remote field. You just went all in, So, okay. Now I could jump the gun right now and I could start going off about why I don't agree with that, but he goes into more detail. So I'm going to save my opinion on his opinion until we get a little bit further into this, okay?
In fact, maybe our movement's heavy focus on getting individuals to go vegan isn't the best strategy anyway. And maybe Alex can inspire many other people who aren't fully vegan to get involved too. Now,
so I picked up on a few things here as well. And listen, I'm not a big fan of the maybes. I'm not a big fan of how this video kicked off. I think the intro was kind of like that point there, kind of apologizing for what you're about to say and then saying, oh, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. I think exactly what he said was maybe our movement's heavy focus on getting individuals to go vegan isn't the best strategy. Maybe Alex can inspire other people. It's like, this is what you think, Jack, right? So just own it, dude. If that's what you think, just own it. I mean, there's no use you don't need to keep saying the maybe this and maybe that, or this could be the right thing. If this is what you think, own it. And I know it's going to lose you a lot of support, or potentially could lose you a lot of support. But hey, you made the video, so just go in there and say it, dude. There's no need to kind of have this kind of apologetic tone. If it's what you believe, it's what you believe. And if it's not what you believe, then why should we listen? Right? If you're not sure, then why should we listen? If you are sure, then just say what you need to say and then let's keep going, right? And then try and justify it, which is what he's going to go ahead and try and do now.
to many people, that may sound counterintuitive.
They could help and be vegan, but you give them a free pass.
We're just
it's me.
Asking for your personal behavior to change. That's all we're asking for. And that's way more effective.
I don't know how you think things are going to change if you're just going to sit here saying we need to call out institutions or we need to call out capitalism and then be unwilling to change anything in your life yourself.
Wow. So wait a minute. You're telling me that the people who are spending their lives protesting against animal abuse, who face the horrors of animal agriculture, both in person and through media online, and try to document it as well and try to raise awareness and show people it. You're telling me those people want to encourage people to stop paying for it? Why is that a surprise? And should that be a surprise? No, of course not. It's an expectation. It's what you expect these people to say. Of course you would. Just like somebody who goes and fights against, I don't know, slave labor somewhere would come back and try and convince people not to purchase items from slave labor. It's expected, and it's a perfectly reasonable request for the people who are on the ground doing the work and working as activists. So I'm curious, well, at this point I was curious the first time I watched it to see why Jack thinks that's not a good idea.
In this video, I hope to explain my reasoning. Now, when I joined this movement, I was inspired by YouTube activists like Earthling Ed and Joey Carbstrong, and it seemed like everyone had the same strategy. Our mission was to get as many people as possible to go vegan. And that's what I did. At the time, there seemed to be a thriving grassroots community in London, so I was attending activism events every single week. And to an extent, it works. I mean, vegan advocacy is reducing the number of animals being bred, and it's raising awareness of their plight. It's challenging harmful social norms and helping people see the seriousness of animal suffering.
So yeah, that's true. In a world that we live in now, where people eat animals 3 times a day or more and use animal products practically every day, because practically everything that you would come across, every item has involved some animal in some way, right? Some animal product. And everything you buy puts your money in the hands of someone who is somehow connected with some part of animal agriculture in some way or another. So engaging with the public to try and help to undo this indoctrination and this mindlessness they have without even realizing this is the case, and just, you know, without them even knowing how deeply entrenched all these animal products and animal bodies and secretions and parts, they're so like hidden and just in everything, you know? So yeah, outreach and outreach to the public, whether it's face to face or whether it's, you know, going and talking online to people and trying to get as many people as possible, like Ed does with his videos, like Joey does with his videos, like I do with my videos, like lots of people, like Plant-Based News does with their videos, whatever, like trying to reach a mass amount of people to get them to realize this stuff and change and undo indoctrination like that, get a more aware population is a pretty damn good goal to go for to try to stop systematic animal use, right? You got to have people start to change their minds, or not even change their minds. They already believe in this stuff, that it's wrong to hurt animals and stuff. Got to have them realize just how bad the issue is, just how far it's gone. It's an uphill battle, but I think that's absolutely necessary, and I value everybody out there who's doing that.
Now, on the other hand, when we look at successful social justice movements of the past, it seems that none of them had such a strong focus on encouraging boycotts. The environmental movement has promoted green consumerism, but the common view among environmental activists is that this has been fairly ineffective, and there seems to have been a shift towards promoting institutional change, with the likes of Extinction Rebellion, who are demanding collective action.
Yeah, so he's comparing the animal rights movement to Extinction Rebellion, and the thing is, the environmental movements like Extinction Rebellion, they have entirely different goals and an entirely different cause. So what they're saying is their general core focus is that they claim that the environmental issues, that the individual person is not even the one causing most of the problems, right? It's actually the corporations and these massive industries and the way that they work with governments that are causing the biggest environmental problems. That's what they've moved onto now, Extinction Rebellion. So green consumer solutions or whatever, not only are they usually more expensive, like solar panels and shit, or just impossible for most people to get hold of and work with, right? It's negligible anyway, because even if everybody had them, it's still these massive, huge corporations and the way they operate that it's causing the biggest environmental impact, right? So they run the world, these big corporations, these big top-level industries, stuff like that. So you can't boycott them because you have to boycott everything, right? So what they're trying to do is get the government to change and put funding into the green solutions for the top, where everything comes from. And so they make these companies put their own money in, government puts money in, and they're trying to make that change. The consumer wouldn't even feel a thing, right? Ideally, the consumers wouldn't need to change a thing because it's the companies themselves and the government that puts the money in, not the people on the bottom. That's their idea. With animal products, though, that's entirely different, because a plant-based diet is already feasible for the vast majority of people, especially in the West. Plant-based foods are cheaper and nutritious. And if you avoid the vegan specialist stuff, it's vegan and nutritious and can give you the same or better health outcomes. So there's no, if you eat well, so there's no, it's the alternative's already there. And it is a case of stopping funding animal abusing industries, because animal abusing industries, when it comes to diet especially, they are a very specific part of, it's not like they control the world and you can't boycott them because they're everywhere. No, you actually can. In huge ways you can boycott them, like, these industries. So you can put your money into plant food industries and you can have a big difference just from doing that with your money. So it's very different from the environmental movement. It's a very different. In my eyes, at least. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, it seems it's so different in so many ways. Different aims, different goals, different systems.
Was a contingent of the US anti-slavery movement which focused on boycotting slave-made goods. So in some ways this seems kind of analogous to vegans boycotting animal-made products. But after limited success, the free produce movement was abandoned in favor of more political approaches.
Yeah, I completely disagree with that analogy in this point, because using slave-made goods is not the same as using animal-based goods. They're not similar movements really in that way. That when we make comparisons between what happens to animals and what's happened historically for thousands of years with human slavery, the reason we make those comparisons is because slaves were treated like animals, right? That's why we're making the comparison, because they're treated like animals. We even say that. So they're treated, and they're not actually. Slaves weren't treated anywhere near as badly as animals, but it was pretty close. That's why we make the comparisons. Lily Veg, thank you, by the way, says, environmentalists are criticized when they fly a plane. Why can't we criticize Cosmic Skeptic for the same hypocrisy? Well, we'll come to that later. Thank you for the tip, and you'll see that's in the video. We're coming to it for sure. And thank you again. So yeah, so there's that first of all. But when he's talking about these slave products, he's talking about people who were used for slave labor, right? So people weren't eating them, or eating their eggs, the women's eggs, or drinking the women's milk. They weren't slaughtering them en masse for protein, or thinking they needed to eat slaves for protein, or thinking they need to eat and drink them, otherwise they'll die, right? So it's a completely different mindset. It's a completely different view on the subject, on the victim, right? And if we equalized everything so that it wasn't different, so that it was the same, then we would have a situation where animals aren't being killed or aren't being used for like eggs and things to eat, right? They'd actually be used for, say, manual labor, like operating machines. They'd be forced to do stuff like that, right? So that if you equalized it so that these industries were the same, that's how it would be. So the better comparison, in my opinion, would be, so if you're going to compare this slave trade and the boycotting of slave products to animal products, this would be like, imagine if in the slave trade, or any slave trade, by the way, I don't just mean the most recent one. I'm talking, it could be Roman slaves, it could be somewhere in the Middle East, anywhere, I don't care, okay? Just in general, slave trade at some point in history, it's like if they had a system and it was all in place and it was all like manual labor or whatever mostly, but there was actually some of them in some parts of this trade that actively killed and abused and killed people. They actively did it. Like hung them upside down and shot them in the head, all that kind of stuff. Horrible shit. Slit throats, separating babies from mothers so they could take away the mum's milk and stuff like that. Taking using their skin for clothing and things like that, right? Basically what Humane Hancock is saying is like, yeah, if it was equalized, then you don't need to boycott that, even though it's intense violence, to support activism for them. That to me doesn't make any sense. And what you would say instead is, okay, yeah, the slave trade movement, they figured out that, okay, a boycott wasn't practical for a lot of people because it's hard to avoid, I don't know, the products that come from slave labor. Fine, but would you not tell them that, okay, could you at least avoid the products that we know come from like this horrific violence, right? So I understand the labor part of it. Okay, fine, maybe it's hard to avoid the products of labor, but what about the ones that we know are operating this extreme violence and cruelty, and we could at least avoid those ones, right? Well, I mean, guys, that's basically veganism. You can't tell people avoid every single thing that possibly touched and came into contact with animals and stuff, and that animals are involved in. Well, you can't ask that of somebody. It's not possible, because animal products are in practically everything, right? But what we say is avoiding the things you can is the minimum. So like, meat, dairy, egg industries, the leather, the wool, the fur, the cosmetics tested on animals. There's a list of things that we know of that are extreme violence that we can avoid, right? And then there's a list of things that we can't, like things like Like if you're going taking a taxi and they've got leather seats, or if you're taking any kind of public transport or a plane, if you're going to fly somewhere, there are things that, like, you know, if you're going to go to that level, you just can't operate. If you have to just sit at home and starve to death, basically. Is practically everything you would buy has somehow, somewhere put money into the hands of people who are involved in animal ag, or funded it in some way or another. So it's unrealistic to expect everyone to go to the point of bloody killing themselves. But practically, we can do quite a lot, can't we? Right? And that's what we would expect of if people who are alive in the slavery times, right? When there's a trade, well, the minimum you'd expect is to boycott the things you can boycott, right? And then the things you can't boycott, right? But you'd expect something. Whereas what kind of seems like what is being said here is, well, okay, you know, if you can't boycott it all, so don't bother trying anything. And that seems crazy to me.
With our current focus on go vegan messaging, people tend to view being vegan as a prerequisite to being an animal advocate. So, in other words, people feel like they have to make this significant lifestyle in order to get involved. They need to completely change the way they eat, which for many people might be more complicated than for others. I mean, if you look at the rates of obesity in the world, along with the numbers of vegans who fail to maintain their diet.
So this was pretty disappointing to see, to be honest with you, Jack. I don't know if you were going to watch this, but the idea, this oh, look at all the people who fail to maintain their diet. I mean, you know psychology, like basic understanding of psychology. You know how things sway people to fail. You know that a plant-based diet is the new thing. It's not the norm for people, right? So when people get pushed, when push comes to shove, stuff gets hard, and they crave the things that make them feel good. So we know that's one element of it. We know that they're being pressured by meat industry propaganda to think that it's not suitable. We know there's all these anti-vegan numpties online. There's tons of reasons people go back to doing something else. But you know, people are weak in general with this kind of stuff, because that's the norm is to be an animal eater. The norm is to be omnivorous. So that sentence was disappointing. It's like when people quit drinking and then there's a breakup, and then what do? They go back to drinking again. It's how people operate. Even if they really hated drinking, they'll still, this is what it does. People do. Especially nowadays with social media distractions and all the propaganda, people are really confused, and it doesn't take a lot to sway them one way or another at this point, especially sway them towards doing the thing they did for years and years and years and loved doing. It's very easy to get them to do that again. So I don't think that's not necessarily a reflection of the plant-based diet. It's a reflection on people going back to bad habits, which is something everybody does. I mean, on everybody does it once on other things as well. You know what I mean? Like they start training, go to the gym, and then all of a sudden they don't go to the gym anymore. And then there's slob, and then they go to the gym again. People are like that.
Well, you can't help but feel concerned if our main strategy is to convince as many people as possible to change their eating habits. But obviously it's not just about food. People need to change the clothes they buy and the cosmetic products they buy. I want to say that personally, after being vegan for say 2 months, I found this lifestyle really easy to maintain. Like, it honestly feels really convenient for me to be vegan. I don't miss meat at all. I think the vegan meats we have are great, and I think they're only going to get better over time. And likewise, it's only going to get more and more convenient to be vegan over time. But just like Cosmic Skeptic shouldn't generalize from his difficulties with veganism, you know, just because he feels it's impractical for him, that doesn't mean it's going to be impractical for his subscribers. I should also be cautious not to generalize from my ease with veganism. So just because I find it easy, that doesn't mean that everyone else will.
And this bit, I was kind of like surprised again that Jack that was focusing on anecdotes here. It doesn't matter if Cosmic Skeptic, if Alex feels good or bad, or if you feel good or bad. This is just your story. We need to look at the truths here. There are truths to all of this, right? So, for example, Cosmic Skeptic, Alex, is among one of the most comfortable, privileged people on earth. He lives in the UK. He runs a very successful YouTube channel as his job. That's his living. That's his career. He's meeting all of his heroes. He's got all this respect from the people he looks up to in the philosophy community. Guy's doing pretty good. Guy's got a pretty solid life. Now, look, he's got personal issues, right? We see that. That's another objective truth. He's admitted his personal issues. He's got stuff going on that's bothering him, and that is some stuff going on with his health and his mental health and stuff. Fine. But those issues don't justify harming animals when he has all the options not to. He's not in a survival situation. No matter how much he might try to convince you he isn't. He's not in a survival situation. He's got no sensible explanation for doing what he's doing. He's only got bad explanations for abusing animals. So we look at the truth. We don't listen to people's anecdotes and then tell them, well, okay, you can just go and abuse animals then, or oh, you feel good, well, you don't have to abuse animals then. No, you got to look at measures like test results. You got to get professionals to speak to them, people who understand this stuff, and you got to put effort in, because you should have to jump through a million hoops before you even think about putting animals back on your bloody table. All right, so it's wild that, Jack, that you'd go for anecdotes here and kind of make those points when I mean, you are a dude, you are a guy of science, right? You quote studies and stuff like that, and I didn't expect that, to be honest. And look, I mean, the thing with feelings and anecdotes is they can be quite convincing. And I know Jack is friends with Alex. I think at least he was on his podcast, and he was both on each other's channels. So I don't know if this is clouding his judgment a little bit, and he feels bad for Alex. But you know, Jack, you've spent time in slaughterhouses. You know that's what's important, not someone's feelings, not an anecdote, right? And I think it's important to, like you said at the beginning of the video, to remember that and not focus on people's anecdotal stories of whether they feel good or bad.
Now, the animal movement is a fringe movement, and what we want is for as many people as possible to join the movement and push for change. Now, imagine for a second how much smaller the US anti-slavery movement would have been if their community were limited to people who boycotted all slave-made goods.
Yeah, it would have been smaller, but again, it's not analogous to the movement we're talking about here, because it's like, imagine if the people at that time thought they needed to eat and drink slaves for protein and calcium. Imagine if their body parts were used for all kinds of items and stuff like that. You know, it's not a valid comparison, because they were mostly used for like manual labor, and they were low in society. They were slaves, of course, but they were, like as we said, they were treated like animals, not the other way around. It's a totally different subject. It's a totally different problem. And animals are so much lower. There's so much more violence being put on them. So yeah, boycotting all slave-made goods might have been impossible for most people, and so is boycotting all animal-made products. But if slaves were being hung upside down, having their throats cut, and abused like that, I would hope that the anti-slave movement would have told people, hey, as a priority, let's stop funding that, right? As a priority, let's stop funding the people who are literally taking fluids and flesh from these people's bodies to eat. Let's at least stop that bit, right? I would have expected, I mean, it would be pretty crazy that people would go ahead and try and fight for their rights while eating their bodies, the bodies of slaves, you see? So I find that it's a pretty crazy analogy that I don't think matches up. I don't think when you really get into it, I don't think it's a good analogy.
There were likely many people who disagreed with slavery, but who wouldn't have had the willpower to abstain from all slave-made products.
If it's just willpower, if you're saying it's possible, but it's just willpower, I find that wild that we would sit and entertain that. Oh, you don't have the willpower to stop paying for slave-made goods, but you could. It's perfectly feasible. You just don't want to, but you want to fight for their rights. Really? Really though?
Likewise, surveys suggest that a significant amount of US adults do support the abolition of factory farming and slaughterhouses, despite the fact that almost all of them buy animal products. Now, should we be skeptical of survey results like this because of things like social desirability bias? Absolutely. I think it's unlikely that we would see that much support if there was actually a vote on abolishing factory farming, although there was a vote in Switzerland recently that did show considerable support for a ban. But
yeah, I mean, people say what they think makes them sound good. There's no surprises here, is there, right? And you know that's just how it is. People will say, "Oh yeah, we want to ban it," but you know, I've heard some vegans say, "Well, we just need to trick them into thinking they want to ban it, because ultimately, when they ban it, it means everything's going to get more expensive." So you know, I don't see that going anywhere. But maybe people say stuff all the time. Like this is like when people say, "Oh, I love animals." Oh, so do you eat animals? Yes. So you don't love animals? No, I love animals, but I eat them. You know what I mean? It's like that. People just say stuff that, yeah. What do you call it? Moral. What kind of bias was it? Something. Why did I just miss it? That was it. Desirability, social desirability bias. Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge thing.
Regardless, there are of course arguments in favour of having a focus on a go vegan call to action. Like if someone commits to going vegan, I think it's more likely that we'll see a significant shift in their worldview, where they see animals as individuals who matter. You know, there's that thing that some vegans call making the connection, which sounds a bit cringe, but I think there's something to it. Like you become aware of speciesism and really see this as the important issue that it is. An issue that is just not taken seriously at all in the mainstream. You know, like the other historical injustices where the mainstream thought all the activists were crazy and people didn't take them seriously?
Yeah, agreed. I agree with everything he said there. Nothing more to add, really. Just that bit was really good.
I'm just saying. And if someone holds the belief that animals are moral patients whose suffering matters like their own does, and yet continues to literally eat them, well, I worry that cognitive dissonance is just going to make it much more likely that they adapt those beliefs in order to reduce the dissonance. And there's actually some empirical evidence to support this.
Well, yeah, it's how people go vegan, isn't it? They connect the dots mentally. They start to feel bad about the things they're buying, and then they go vegan. That doesn't come as a surprise. That's how it can go, right? And how I think that's how everybody went vegan. But I guess the point he's trying to make here is that if he's trying to say they should be welcome as activists without the requirement to go vegan. I mean, if the position is, oh, but we want them to go vegan and we'll encourage them to go vegan while they work with us, I don't see a problem with that. But that's not the message I'm getting from this video. The message is they don't have to be vegan full stop to work with us. And this is why I don't understand why you would make that point. We'll get to that later on. I've got some more points to make, but I'm going to let him explain more of his points before we... I don't want to jump the gun, you know what I mean? So we'll keep going.
What we have here is a genuine trade-off between two things. If we focus on the boycott, we enforce important social norms and highlight the seriousness of causing animal abuse. But we risk significantly minimizing the number of people who get involved because they find it too hard and then fail to speak up for animals at all because they don't want to feel like hypocrites. My take is that I would be enthusiastic about seeing more non-vegans join the animal movement. I would be happy to see vegan activists be welcoming to non-vegans in joining us to call for the end of the atrocities that are happening in animal farms and slaughterhouses.
So, okay, this might seem super crazy at first, but you got to realize here, guys, that they already are. Non-vegans already are doing work for animal rights. Right? And they're not doing it for animal rights. Actually, it's for animal welfareism. So there are loads of welfareist organizations. They push for things like cage-free eggs. They push against the fur industry. They push for lots of changes in animal agriculture, right? To make certain areas bigger, certain things better, certain things with pain medication, things like that. They push for all this different kind of stuff. And even PETA allows non-vegans to work for the organization, right? So this idea that he's putting forward, it's already happening. It's already like that, but it's welfareist activism. It's for welfareism. It's not for rights, because how could you be an animal rights activist? You're trying to get animal rights, like human rights. It's like you can't be a human rights activist while you actively pay for things that you could easily avoid that go against people's human rights. How does that make any bloody sense? You can't possibly be fighting very hard, can you? Like you're not even stopping yourself. So the idea that you could be an animal rights activist while actively abusing animals' rights, violating their rights, it seems you'd be a welfareist. You'd be an animal welfare activist, right? And that's what I'm kind of lost at here with Jack. Like in this video, he speaks as an animal rights activist against speciesism a couple times, but then sometimes he's coming across as a welfareist. And I don't know which it is. Like, which is it, Jack? Are you a welfareist activist or are you a rights activist? Like, I'd like to know which one. And because I'm not like throwing shade at the welfareist movement, by the way. It exists fine. I'd rather they were all vegan, and I'd rather they put a focus on rights rather than just trying to make things better. But I appreciate that they put pressure on animal ag, and they make it economically more difficult for them to run. And actually, they shut down some places through making it more economically difficult. So I value that. They're not necessarily a part of abolition. They're not trying to end animal ag necessarily, but they are something we can use to help with getting that goal, right? So, but for the way I take on this, my take on this is like, this is an emergency. I see this is an emergency of the way we think. People need to stop seeing animals as dirt on their shoe. They need to stop seeing them as filthy, disgusting, nasty, meaningless, just resources. They're not even beings. They're just resources. They don't have personalities and stuff. People need to stop seeing it like that, and they need to wake up and realize that they value their lives as much as your dog or your cat, and as much as any animal that you value, right? So, as a vegan, as my goal, that's what I want. I want to try and make a different world. I want to change people's perception. Welfareism doesn't achieve that. That's why I'm not a welfareist, because welfareism sees animals as worthy of a bigger cage, but not worthy of not being a resource for someone's snack, right? That's welfareism. So I have a problem with that. I don't agree with that. We can take the benefits, we can take the pluses of welfareism. They have a bigger movement. They get more funding, and they have lots of more success, like small successes, like within their movements. Like they would call them big, but I'm talking like, bigger cages, stuff like that. And it makes it harder for farmers to operate economically, which is helpful to our goal, because then that's less farmers and it causes more problems and stuff. But yeah, I'm not a welfareist. I want animals to have the right to not be in the cage and not be used like that. And I'm curious to know which one Jack is, to be honest, because this video confused me a little bit. I wasn't entirely sure from what I was watching. So yeah, that'll be good to know if Jack, you want to, I mean, maybe he's already got a video on his channel about that. If he does, someone link it me and we can check it out. But yeah.
Would I accept this in a human context? Because wouldn't it just sound ludicrous to be encouraging child abusers to join us in protests calling for the end of child abuse? I think the main difference between these examples is the difference between social norms. Society is entirely set up for people to be non-vegan, and that's where the social pressure pushes towards. In order to avoid causing direct harm to farmed animals, people need to make a significant lifestyle change that puts them in a fringe minority group who are stigmatized by the majority.
It does. And that's what vegans are trying to change. Social norms. That's the point, isn't it? And before I continue, guys, I see a couple numpties in the comments. And we were going to do a debate earlier, weren't we? But the guy flaked out. But I mean, these people seem pretty confident. There's like one or two in there. So we'll see how confident you are, you little meat flakes. Stick around. And when we're finished with the video, you can come on. You can drop me an email right now. Actually, I'll keep an eye on my emails. My email address, Annie, just put my email address in there. And if you've got the gonads to come on, then come on. But if you haven't, then well, you're just being a little bitch, aren't you? So yeah, there you go. Annie, pop my email in, and I expect an email from these ones with the big talk in the chat, because we're up for it. So let's see. But anyway, about back to Humane Hancock, about the stigmatization. Yeah, the social norms are the way they are right now, fine. But there are plenty of social norms that have changed over years, and they don't change by people being afraid of the social norms. They don't change by people saying, "Oh, but I'm getting stigmatized. I better not stand up. Better not put my head out." No, they changed because people stuck their heads out and said, "Hey, this is how things are right now, but we don't agree." So encouraging people to keep their head down in the sand because they're scared of putting their head up, I mean, that's not good advice, dude. Things only change because people try and make the change. Look at things. For example, dude, parents and teachers used to be able to beat their kids until not that long ago. Your teacher could hit you. A teacher could beat you, right? Literally smack you on the head or the hands, and it was perfectly legal. That was a social norm. And some people who spoke up against that and got it changed, but they were laughed at and mocked, but they knew they were right. So, I mean, if you know you're right and you know you're doing the right thing, then don't keep down and be scared. I mean, step up. The advice should be, let's step up. Let's change things. Let's actually do something about this. I don't like this it feels like we're kind of making excuses for people to be soft. Well, No, I mean, toughen up. The support is here. You don't need to go out shouting at people and being told off or whatever. You don't even need to tell anyone you're a bloody vegan. You can do so much just by being a vegan. You can be a anonymous activist online. You can be anonymous in lots of ways. You can be somebody who does activism at weekends and doesn't tell anybody else about it. There's so many ways around it, but just not doing it and not being a vegan because you're scared of stigmatization is really, really weak.
Now, in the child abuse example, it's going the other way. The social pressure is going the other way. You have to go out of your way to abuse a child, and if you're caught and convicted, you risk completely destroying your life. And that's one reason why I think boycotting slave-made goods in the time when US slavery was legal and normal seems more analogous. And as I said, that's a situation where the focus on encouraging individual boycotts was abandoned in favor of more collective institutional call to actions.
Yeah, and again, it's if someone's happily paying a known slave abuser and killer while fighting for slave rights, when they have a viable, simple option to not do that, what does that say about them? Is this the kind of person you think that's going to help you get rights for those people? You really think that they're the one that's going to be the one to do it? I don't think so, mate. And like I said earlier, ridding your life of every single animal product is near impossible. We acknowledge that, right? But if you're not even trying, you're not even taking away the most obviously disgraceful parts of this. You're not even trying with that. Why are you being an animal activist? What are you doing? What's the mindset? Is it like one rule for me, another for thee? Is that what's going on? That they get a kick out of telling people what to do while not doing it themselves? You've got to ask about who these people are, haven't you? And by the way, earlier on, we did refer to the environmental movement, but they're a joke because of this. Why, when Leonardo DiCaprio stands up on a stage at some environmental movement protest and starts talking about the environment, when he got there on a private jet and is one of the individual people in the world who pollute like so phenomenal, like such huge pollution, why should anyone take him seriously when he's trying to tell you how to do your life? I find it wild that that this one rule for me, another for thee, and people are starting to get annoyed with it as well. People are starting to see through it.
Perhaps you think that a non-vegan animal activist is a hypocrite. Well, I agree. They are hypocrites, and they should try to be vegan. But it's like having a large movement made up of hypocrites that have a big enough voice to make big change for animals is better than having a movement that fails to enter the mainstream and bring about the change in the world that we want to see. And I think this is something that many environmentalists...
So you want a movement of people who happily fund animal abuse because it's easy when they could easily not fund it. You want a movement of those people fighting for animals. Like, I'm not getting that. And it already exists anyway, right? That's the welfareism movement. We've already been through that. Those organizations that focus on bigger cages, stuff like that. Like any movement that focuses on abolition, right? As in they want animals to have animal rights and stop this, they will have abolitionists working with them. Because in a world where it's simple to not fund animal agriculture in so many ways, which we've got so many ways, just eating plant-based is one of the biggest ways to not fund it, then anyone who's an abolitionist would be vegan, right? If they're not vegan, then they don't want an end to animal ag. They don't want animal rights because they're not vegan, clearly. And they'll be a welfarist, won't they? I mean, the definition of somebody who wants abolition is somebody who is an abolitionist, i.e. they're not funding the things that they want to be abolished. Because if they were funding the things it means they don't want to abolish them, do they? If they're funding them. If they're supporting it, they don't want to abolish it. They're not an abolitionist. They're not an animal rights person. They're some kind of welfarist, right? That's my take anyway.
Mental activists have realised. I was at an Extinction Rebellion event in London, which, by the way, saw a huge attendance by all different kinds of people. And they were handing out these cards that said things like, you don't need to give up flying to join Extinction Rebellion, or you don't need to be vegan to join Extinction Rebellion, among other things. Now imagine if the environmental movement were only made up of people who were willing to give up flying or remain child-free for the rest of their lives. Well, they would certainly be less hypocritical, but they'd also be less effective.
Well, it's also because, like we said at the beginning, Extinction Rebellion calls for government changes to put more funding into green solutions for the corporations. That's why they're not interested in people on the street and what you do, because it doesn't matter to their cause. If you decide to do or not do something, there's no moral issue. It's not like if you don't choose that green option, someone dies. That's not how the environmental movement works anyway, right? So they don't hold individuals accountable. They want to hold corporations accountable because that's what they believe, right? So that makes sense there. But animal ag isn't going to work that same way because they need to kill. They need to do what they do to animals to keep producing animal products. Otherwise, it's not animal ag anymore. Now, you could say, oh, but the government could force them to do lab meat. Well, then you've got another problem. Well, they're not going to do it, first of all. They're not going to do that, are they? They can't. They'd have to start an entirely new business. So that's probably not going to happen. And also, the people wouldn't want to eat it. They wouldn't want to drink it because they're a bit freaked out by lab stuff and cultivated stuff, right? Which is, well, what does that mean? We've got to do more outreach with them. We've got to do more public activism. So again, if that's what you want, it goes against the point. The public needs to demand it. The public needs to demand these things. That's what's going to make businesses change. Unlike the environmental stuff, which is entirely different. They're asking businesses not to change what they make, but to make what they make better, and to get some companies to change to better alternatives and give people better, alternatives to stuff and change things at the top, right? That's what they're trying to do. So we're not talking about environmental impact and things like that, things that are kind of difficult to quantify. Like, okay, we're told that the world could blow up or whatever in a ball of flames in many years. And we're told there's these problems in other countries with extreme weather and stuff like that. But the average person is not going to the shop and saying, whoa, I won't get a plastic bag because I'm going to kill 1,000 people in India. That's not how it works, right? It's very vague and it's very unspecific. You can't put your finger on it, but you know that you want to do better overall because there's an overall change happening. With animal ag, you buy that product. It is no question. It came from an animal that had their throat slit. That's how it happened. That is what happened. And if it's a dairy product, they might not have had their throat slit yet, but they will have pretty soon. And it's same with an egg product. So when you buy and you contribute to these things, it's 100% certified violence and death. It's not some, maybe this will have an impact on the wide scale of the world like environmentalism. It's directly you're paying a killer to do this, right? So it's totally different.
And let's be honest, we're all hypocrites. I mean, we live in a world where people are literally watching their children die from easily preventable diseases, while people on the other side of the world spend their savings on new iPhones and expensive dinners and video games, not to mention the Nickelback CDs. I mean, at least get something worthwhile, like a Humane Hancock Patreon subscription.
So I get the point. It's a funny joke. And by the way, Nickelback are awesome, Jack. That's actually, do you know what? I got to be honest with you guys. If I come across pissy at any point in this, or like I'm worked up, or like I'm annoyed at Jack, that's actually the reason. That right there. I watched it earlier, and he shit on Nickelback, and I said, you know what? I was annoyed a little. I don't know. I was ready to respond to everything else, but the thing that pushed me over the edge was that Nickelback comment. Nickelback, pre like Rockstar days, their first 2 albums, incredible, amazing. And if you want to, you know what, that can be the debate. If you've got a problem with Nickelback's first 2 albums, then I'll have you on here to debate that. How about that? That's something we've got to get into, right? Brilliant. First 2 albums, amazing. 2 of my favorite albums of all time. So that wound me up big time. But okay, let's get back into the video. How does it make someone a hypocrite? Exactly. Because are you a hypocrite because, I don't know, you claim to care about people, but instead of sending all your money to human rights organizations, you go to the cinema? I don't think that makes someone a hypocrite. And if it does, then I guess everyone's a hypocrite, and then the word hypocrite doesn't even matter. It's not even a word it doesn't even matter. It means nothing. Because I don't think people should feel bad for enjoying the life that they do have, as long as they don't hurt anyone. That's what I think. I think life's too short to spend it, and to spend it like that, to be thinking like, oh, there's all these horrible things in the world all the time, and I can't do anything, I can't enjoy myself at all. No, if you're doing something for someone else, like animals, right? Or if you don't abuse animals and you're a vegan and you do work for human rights and stuff, you're already in the probably like 1% of the population that actually thinks about someone else other than yourself. So I say you still got to enjoy your life, and you've got to do what you can and enjoy your life. I mean, Jesus, you don't need to beat yourself up because you don't give every penny that you own to some cause somewhere. Okay, like this is the world we're in, and it's shit sometimes. And do what you can. And we should all. I mean, I guess he makes a point that we should all probably donate more money in general, for sure. If that's the point he's making, then okay, fair play.
Ultimately, what I'm saying here is that pushing the narrative that you need to be vegan in order to be an animal advocate is probably harmful to animals over the long term. And having our main focus on a go vegan call to action reinforces that narrative.
I don't understand the kind of people you're hoping to get with this message. Okay, do you want a really, really misogynistic man who beats his wife behind closed doors to come and defend women's rights with you, protest for women's rights? Do you want thousands of them? Thousands of these aggressive men who believe in women's rights, apparently, and want to help you get women's rights, but at home they're misogynistic people who beat their wives. Do you think that those are the kind of people that are going to make the difference? Do you think those are the kind of people that are going to push women's rights over the edge? Like if you were in a world where women didn't have rights, you think those are the guys that are going to do it? Those are the guys that are going to have the passion, the true passion to get it done, to fight for women? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't think so. I lean towards no. And to these people who can easily avoid paying for so much animal abuse, they can easily avoid so much of it, right? And they choose not to, right? And you want them to fight with you for animal rights? Like what about a movement of trophy hunters? You want them to stand by you? Do you want the trophy hunter societies to come and work with you for animal rights? What about Yulin dog breeders for the Yulin festival? You want those to come and fight for animal rights? I mean, I could come up with more examples, but you get my point. You really expect these people to be the ones that do it? Like it's so, the animal rights fight is so much harder than the women's rights fight ever was, or the slavery fight ever was. Animals are just so low, they don't even come on the scale for most people. At least with women, and at least with the anti-slave, at least they were acknowledged as those were humans, right? Or in the slave trade, even if some people didn't acknowledge them as human, at least they resembled humans. Animals are so in their eyes, I mean, these morons who said they weren't humans' eyes. I mean, with animals, it's like they don't even, they're so much lower in people's minds. It's so much more of a fight. So you think that these people who can't even be bothered to make small changes, you think they're going to be the ones that convince the masses, the systems to change? I just don't know if I buy that. I don't know if I buy that they'd have the passion, the longevity, the sustained action, the sustained energy to do this work while they're consuming the bodies of these animals that you're claiming that they could help us save. I just don't get that, man. I'm just not following you there. Lily Veg, thank you for the tip. Says, I was in a debate with a vegan yesterday. She was telling me welfareists do a better job for animals than abolitionists like Earthling Ed and Joey. That debate was very heated, as you can imagine. Yeah, welfareists tend to be a little bit they're kind of like vegetarians, like, oh, we're doing so much, we don't need to do anything. You criticize us for not doing, for not being, more strict or whatever, or not including these other animals and blah, blah, blah. No, we're doing loads. I've seen that with welfareists as well. They claim that they, do way more than everybody else. It's kind of that same vibe. So that doesn't surprise me that you had that. But hopefully it was, hopefully it ended up being somewhat productive. Yeah. All right.
I mean, yeah, it would be weird to have non-vegans going to protests to tell other people to go vegan.
A little bit.
There is, of course, space for vegan advocacy in the animal movement. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if it wasn't for vegan advocacy. It's important. What I'm suggesting is a shift in our focus rather than completely abandoning vegan advocacy altogether. If Cosmic Skeptic continues to buy animal products, I think he can potentially be a good example of a non-vegan in the animal movement. As far as I know, his perception of what animals are enduring hasn't changed. He still thinks animal farming is the greatest moral emergency of our time, and he can still have an impact on this emergency.
I mean, yeah, you could still keep talking about it, I suppose, while funding it. I mean, if he wants to do that, but people smell bullshit, and I think people are getting more and more tired of this one rule for thee, another for me. They see all these hypocrites on TV, on the news, on YouTube. They see Leo DiCaprio and these elite people telling them to do shit they don't even do themselves. So I don't imagine that he would be so convincing at this point, to be honest with you. I think people are getting kind of tired of this shit. Now he's somebody who doesn't practice what he preaches. So yeah, okay, whatever. He could keep talking, and no vegan can stop him. It's not like the animal rights people, the vegans, are like, no, you can't say anything now. He can do what he wants, can't he? He can try and do this. I'm just telling you, I don't know how successful it'd be at this point.
And that's what matters. There are countless animals behind closed doors, hidden away where people can't see them, experiencing something terrible right now. Maybe they can't even comprehend that it will ever end for them. I don't think we should start from the question, how do we convince as many people as possible to go vegan? I think we should start from questions like, how do we help them as effectively as possible? Or how do we bring about the end of animal farming as quickly as possible? And
see, those are good questions. There's good things to try to consider. But in my opinion, what you've suggested this entire video doesn't do that. It doesn't end animal farming. It gets them bigger cages. Because what you've described, as I've said, is a movement of people who are welfareists. Because if they were abolitionists, if they actually didn't want this to continue happening to animals, they would be vegan. They would be vegan already. So what you're suggesting, what you're describing here is that people get into welfareism, and either they stay in welfareism and never change personal habits and they just stay there trying to get animals better conditions, or they meet a vegan and then someone explains to them like how this is not right and stuff, and actually we want an end to it. They agree, they change their personal life, and then maybe they continue in doing welfare as activism, as a tactic, strategy, or they move on to more, different types of like abolitionist activism, wherever that may be, whether it's like political stuff or whether it's the public, consumer-based, whatever. So what you're advocating for here is it's already happening, but you're trying to advocate that people be abolitionists while not being abolitionists. This is the bit I'm kind of confused about. By definition, someone's not an animal rights person if they consistently violate the rights of animals on purpose when they could easily avoid it. They're not an animal rights person, and they're certainly not an abolitionist, are they? So, yeah, if you want welfareists, then this video makes sense.
And it seems to me that if we're serious about this, if we really want to see animal liberation, we're going to need as many people as we can get. I would love to see Alex continuing to be an amazing animal advocate, and I hope he can inspire more people to join us, including people who aren't yet fully vegan. And I also hope that in hearing me say that, you don't think I'm trying to tone down the moral seriousness of Alex's decision to eat animals. If Cosmic Skeptic were to ever have his actions accounted for in some hypothetical afterlife, then eating animals would rightly be seen as a serious moral misdeed. But the good he has done, and the good he will hopefully do in the future, would be seen as a serious moral achievement. Both these things can be true.
I honestly, there's part of that is just when he says, I'm not trying to tone down the moral seriousness of Alex's decision to eat animals, but when you say that, we want people who eat animals to stand for animal rights, you do tone down the moral seriousness of it. That's exactly what this video does. It's saying, we don't need you to stop paying for animal abuse to be against animal abuse. So you're making it a morally unserious thing for someone to continue eating them. Like you're saying it's not that serious by saying that by default, that's what you're doing. You're lowering the severity of it by saying that. So that's you weren't trying to do that, but in my opinion, that's kind of what you achieved here. And the idea that this idea at the end that, okay, both these things can be true, that Alex can do good while he's doing bad. I mean, this sounds like very much like utilitarian, like, it doesn't matter if he personally shoots in the head a pig every day, as long as he convinces other people to not do it, it makes it all right. Well, no, he doesn't need to do the shooting the pig in the head in the first place. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much good he does to offset it. He could do more good by not doing that thing. And it's perfectly within his capacity and his ability to not do that thing in Alex's case. He's not gone through the necessary steps to ensure that he's not gone. We've been through this already. From what the information Alex gave us, it doesn't look like he's actually done that much to avoid going back to killing animals, right? And abusing animals for his diet. It doesn't look like he's been through the necessary steps. He's not spoken to the people that could help him. He's not taken any advice. He's not worked with people that were literal patrons. As a doctor who was his literal patron member, he didn't even go to that guy. So clearly it's within his power to not do that to animals. So him doing good to try and offset it, it doesn't undo the bad. I don't agree with that take at all.
Some people do act in ways that are morally better or worse than others, but I think it's the case that all of us have both serious moral flaws and serious moral strengths. We should try to improve as much as we can, because for many beings on Earth right now, life feels like a horror show. If you were them, ending this misery would feel like the most important thing in the world. An important part of trying to fix this is for us to become a more morally responsible species, and that's a hell of a task. Getting that to happen, it starts with each and every one of us.
What is the moral principle underlying our approach to the equality between human beings? Right? We think about equal rights and human rights, and we apply them consistently across human beings. And the reason that we have a conception of human rights is because we recognize that somebody's moral value should not be dependent on morally irrelevant concepts like race and gender and sexuality and religion. Animal exploitation has to end now as a matter of principle, just as racism does, just as sexism does, just as ableism does, too.
Sending a huge thank you.
So, yeah, that last bit at the end, like, Jack, if you agree with what Alex said there, Alex O'Connor said, which obviously he doesn't stand by now, but if you agree with that it's a matter of principle to end the speciesism, just like it is to end racism and sexism and ableism. This video didn't achieve that, because as opposed to pointing out that treating animals in this way will not bring us to the point of getting them rights, because it continues to put them in a lesser than, continues to be speciesist towards them. Instead, it focused more on telling people that, oh, it doesn't matter if you're not vegan, and going vegan doesn't even need to be a prerequisite for you to help animals get animal rights, just like human rights. It doesn't add up. And again, the comparisons to the slave trade also don't add up to this, because it's so much more violent. What's happening to animals is so much more violent. It's so much more severe. It's such a bigger scale. It's so horrific. It's so much more horrific. And I know some people might be upset about that or whatever, but it's just the reality, guys. It's just the truth of the matter. So it's incredible that we would tell people, hey, speciesism's bad and animals being treated this way is bad. But hey, if you don't want to stop doing it, you don't have to. And you can be part of the solution while being part of the problem. How we would ever expect anyone doing that to actually get anything done for animals, and in a way that actually makes it so that they're no longer seen as lesser than, like, works on changing that perspective legally and socially. It's wild to think that somebody could do that without actually doing it themselves. So yeah, if you're looking to hire welfareists, then that's the kind of people you're going to get a hold of, because welfarism isn't even trying to stop what happens to animals. It's just trying to make the conditions better. So yeah, of course non-vegans will do that, because hey, they want to feel less guilty about the stuff they're buying. That makes sense. But as animal rights, as abolition, I don't think so. But hey, that's Jack's opinion. And I think that's, there's lots to agree with. There's lots I didn't agree with. It doesn't change the fact that Jack does good work. I've got nothing against the guy, and I just found that particular video to be a surprising one. And to be totally honest with you, just being for real with you guys, I don't think I would have even reacted to it if unless I needed the backup for this debate. That didn't happen. I think it was just kind of like last night. I thought, if this guy doesn't turn up, what am I going to do? And I'm like, okay, well, Jack just did a new video. Well, we could react to that. I'm not really in the business of like criticizing other activists unless it's like really something that I feel like is really needed to speak about. Like this one probably needed a reaction of some sort, but I don't know. I probably wouldn't have done it otherwise. But just to give you just an idea of why we even did this today. You know what I mean? But it was good timing. Thanks for the content, Jack. Something good to look at. And I do think I don't think his video does necessarily a lot of damage. It's just or anything like that. He's just sharing his opinions, isn't he? And there are opinions that, yeah, you'll either agree with or disagree with. I don't think they have necessarily some big impact, or they're going to make people not go vegan or something like that, or they're going to hurt animals. I don't think it's like quite like that or anything. So, yeah, there's that. Okay, so I'll let you guys know. I've got 2 emails from people. Neither of them wants to debate, but they both want to talk. We can bring them on. So one of them is this Max Mazaki, I suppose Mazaki, right? So we can bring you on to chat. Let's do that then. Why not? They say it's not a debate. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess whatever. We'll talk. We'll see how we go. Just here's the link. All right. Just gonna fly over a link, and we'll see if we can get this rolling. Hopefully it doesn't flake out like the bloody Sadhguru guy did. How pathetic is that? Still don't have an email, no explanation, nothing. Unreal. Okay. So I just emailed you back now, Mazaki. So when this person jumps in, we'll have a chat. Actually, just shift this to somewhere else. How's everyone doing? Enjoy the discussion, the reaction. What do you think? Do you guys let's have a vote in the chat. Do you agree or disagree with Humane Hancock's takes in the video? The core take that you don't need to be, or that he doesn't think that we should ask people to be vegan before they come and join. What do you think to that? Do you agree or disagree with him? And thank you to Alison, who just sent did you send a tip? Is it about to appear? I just got a notification from PayPal that Alison sent through some money on PayPal. Thank you. But it didn't come up in Streamlabs, so I hope that Alison, that you were, if you were hoping to get a comment on screen, you got to do it through Streamlabs. But thank you so much. Appreciate the tip. That's awesome. So I see a lot of disagrees there in the chat. Yeah. I see some disagrees there, and I get it. I also you heard what I said. You know, I'm not anti Humane Hancock, but I didn't agree with most of what he said though. Okay, looks like our guy's here. Hello, can you hear me? If you can hear me, check your settings. It'll be like your audio settings look like they're probably wrong. Oop, that's just 2 of me. I'll fix that now. That's funny. Hello, hello, hello. I don't know what's going on. If you can hear me, you got to go into the settings and check your audio settings. Oops, shit. Just full screened it by accident. Nope, I guess that's not working. We're not having much luck today, huh? Debating myself. Yeah, it's funny. That would be quite funny to try and debate myself. I could do a video like that though. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
just now. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear
Yes,
me?
I can hear you, but you'll have to mute the live
Oh,
stream.
I just heard myself.
Mute the live stream in the background, please. Otherwise, it'll echo.
Yes, I can hear you, but you'll have to mute the live. Mute the live stream in the background, please. Otherwise, it'll echo.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, now
I still can't hear you through my camera though.
okay, hold up. Check the audio settings. So you can't hear me right now. Okay. No, can't hear me. Speakers.
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. You can hear me. Perfect. All right. That took a while. You can hear me. Everything's okay now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, sweet. Cool. So you sent me an email. Do you want to just, I mean, I won't read out your email. You can get into the questions yourself. We'll let you do it that way. But I've seen you in the chat. You've been to a few of the live streams, haven't you? I've seen you in the live chat a couple of times.
I have been. The first time I did come because I had questions.
Okay.
Then I got bored and I did start to troll a little bit, but I do have more questions, which is why I've emailed you.
Okay. So go ahead then. Go with your. So you were trolling a bit. I've seen you troll, and I've seen you be reasonable and troll. Actually, it's been a bit of a mix, but yeah, you can ask the questions you want to ask anyway. Go for it.
I know. I did feel kind of bad, so I did come back and apologize at one point. So
It happens. Don't worry. We're used to it. Most vegans are used to this. So you won't have caused any problems, I'm sure.
okay, so my first question is I don't know how this is for the majority of people, but for me, my first introduction to the world of vegan activism was that vegan teacher, which most people don't like her.
Yeah.
Do you think she's been beneficial or detrimental to the vegan activism community? Just because I know there's been videos of her saying like racist things, and there was the recent video with like her disrespecting a guy's religion. Do
Yeah.
you think she's been beneficial or detrimental?
What was the racist thing? Just out of curiosity.
So she did a video with Ben of the Week a while ago. This is just one of them,
Right.
where she said she didn't have a problem with saying the N-word.
Yeah.
And then she also did another video where she puts like a picture of like, I think of the black girl from Sesame
Yeah.
Street, I think it was.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly which show. And saying like, this girl is beautiful and kind. And then she pans out and she sees that she has the N-word written right next to it with like
Yeah.
acronyms and stuff, like great or whatever.
Yeah. Why do you think what do you think she was trying to do with that? Was she trying to like hurt black people?
I don't think she was trying to hurt black people,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of people definitely did not like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally just didn't understand why
Okay.
she would do that.
Yeah, that's probably the better thing. So look, to put it this way, I wanted to address that because I think it's a bit of a misconception with that. Her whole goal around that word is that she wants to try to help, in her eyes, try to help make that word, take the power away from that word so it's no longer something that can hurt people. That's her goal. So actually, her goal is anti-racist. She's actually trying to make the word something that's harmless by using it in a positive sense. Now, some people argue, well, she's got no right to do that. She's never been on the receiving end of that racism, right? And that's okay, fine. We can get into that discussion, but it's not racist. It's actually, she's trying to help people. It's just, I don't know, it gets perceived the wrong way. You could say it's misguided help. There's lots of things you could say, but I wouldn't go for racist. I'd say, you could say she's misguided. You could say she's hopelessly misguided. She's trying to help something that she's not welcoming. It's not her place to help. There's loads of things you could say on that topic, but racist, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure. And there's been a couple of other things as well where, yeah, obviously, she sometimes she doesn't help herself. I'll give you that. But her general attitude, to your question anyway, what is she useful or bad, good or bad for like this movement, I suppose? Well, I mean, I'm not really bothered about what she is for the movement. It's more about what she is for animals. And all this controversy, well, okay, well, look at yourself. You're here in engaging with vegans because of her. And that's happened probably hundreds of thousands of times. So it's hard to actually quantify whether it's a yes or a no, good or bad. But all I can say from what I've seen is that way more people have engaged with vegans online because of her. So I think that's a good thing.
Okay, thank you. So my second question is, hold on, let me check because I have it in a different tab. Okay, at what point, so I've asked this question in your chat before,
Yeah.
I've never really gotten a definite answer.
Yeah.
probably just because there's so many people.
Sure.
At what point after like living the vegan lifestyle are you considered vegan? Is that different for everybody? Like if I eat vegan and I don't use any animal products
Yeah.
and I don't wear any animal like like clothes or whatever, like leather for a day, that doesn't mean I'm vegan because I've only done it for a day. Like a week?
So
How long?
well, the thing is, it's okay. Somebody could describe you as definition of like you are living as a vegan, that you're living like a vegan if you did that for a day, but you're not going to be a vegan unless you have actually consciously decided that you are against animal abuse, that you contest it. You say, no, I don't want to be part of this. I'm removing these things from my lifestyle. I'm not going to fund these industries because they're disgraceful. And I'm going to do that from now on. Like I've made a change in my mindset. I view animals now as not deserving of all of those horrors. They're morally, I'm considering them as morally, right? They don't deserve that stuff. Like I want them to have rights like humans have, to not be exploited and abused and stuff like that. Then you could call yourself a vegan at that point, because that's what it is. You could some people would say, well, if you do all those things but you don't believe that, but if you're not using animal products, they'd say, well, I suppose you could say you live a vegan lifestyle. And some people do talk about the vegan lifestyle. Yeah, I would, that's how I would say it. Like, why would you call yourself a vegan if you've not actually, if you don't actually believe that, right? Are you there? No. I'll keep talking until you chime back in. I don't know what happened to you. Maybe we lost the connection. Oh, your audio quality is really bad. I can't hear what you're saying. I don't know then. Is it there now? Anything? Hello?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great.
But you froze for a bit. You couldn't hear any of your last answer. I'm sorry.
Oh, my bad. I don't know then. That sucks. No, I was just, okay, what I was saying was, okay, I'll give you the really short version. If you are if you're doing those things that you just said, but you don't actually care about animals at all, it's just something you're doing out of habit or whatever, then somebody could describe you as somebody who lives a vegan lifestyle, as in you live a lifestyle without animal products, right? But unless you've actually decided to do these things because you've made a moral shift, like you look at animals now and you respect them, and you've decided, I'm not going to do that to animals anymore because I respect them and I don't want this to happen to them, and I'm going to do everything I can to stop it from my life, then you're a vegan. That's what being a vegan means.
Okay. So my next question is maybe one of not my biggest question. I've had a lot of ones that are about equal, but this one is it's the most confusing one,
right?
I think. So I've seen a lot of people in your comment section be like, you can't be ex-vegan.
Yeah.
And that, I don't understand how that's possible, because so you've been talking about Cosmic Skeptic a lot on your channel, right? Yeah. And he lived the vegan lifestyle. He ate it. He did it for the reasons for a very long time, but now he's not vegan anymore. Yeah. So is he an ex-vegan?
Yeah.
Or was he never vegan in the first place?
He is. And the idea that there's no such thing as an ex-vegan, it comes from the fact that most people who call themselves ex-vegans aren't ex-vegans. That's why. Most people, when you see, they go online, I don't know if you've seen this stuff, they put a black and white, thing on, a filter on, and they're pretending to cry on camera and shit. And most of the time, they were never vegan. They were just eating a plant-based diet for their health. That's why people say, there's no ex-vegans, right? But there are cases, they're quite rare, like Cosmic Skeptic, who told the world, gave speeches, gave talks, gave, proper philosophical takes on animals and veganism and stuff. And then, okay, is it fair to say he's now an ex-vegan? Well, some people would say, well, yeah, he seemed to be actually caring about animals and focusing there, and then he changed his mind, which is a disgusting thing to change your mind about. It's like if somebody's anti-racist and then the next day they come out and say, do you know what? I actually hate this other race. You'd be like, well, that's disgusting. You're an ex-anti-racist, but you're a piece of shit, right? So people can be ex-vegan. They can make differences in their morals. They can do U-turns and suddenly abuse the ones they were defending. And yeah, it's possible, but it's not very common. It's mostly they just eat plant-based and then stop eating plant-based. That's why you'll see people say there's no such thing.
Okay, thank you. So My next question is a short one.
Yep.
I don't know if it's like subjective from vegan to vegan or if it's just I'm asking you. What do you think is the hardest part of like vegan activism? Because I understand that there's like differences. Like this is just something I've learned from your channel. There's a difference between being vegan and being a vegan activist.
Yeah.
Because like you see the vegans online who are like, oh, yep, I'm just making healthy vegan food to show everybody my lifestyle. But they're not actually like promoting like veganism. They're just doing it for their YouTube. Like I use YouTube a lot, so that's why I'm saying
Sure.
YouTube.
Yeah.
But what do you think is the hardest thing as a vegan activist?
So I mean, the people that you might be watching online who keep talking about food, the chances are that a lot of the times they're not actually vegans. A lot of the times they are actually just people who are health people, plant-based dieters. And so just be aware of that when you're watching people, so that if they do end up one day saying, oh, I'm not vegan anymore, don't buy into the bullshit. They probably weren't vegan in the first place, all right? But the hardest part of doing this work, is that what you're asking? Like the hardest part of making videos, or like what exactly is the question? I wasn't sure about what you were after.
Okay, so like, well, there's a lot of different vegan activists. Again, this is going to be that I've seen on YouTube. Like I've seen like the footage of like the vegans who will go out and like throw paint all over the floors in grocery stores that's red and be like, this is the blood of the animals, and then they get kicked out of the store. And then I've seen people who will like show footage from the animal farms and be like, this is what's happening to the animals. And then there's the people who are just like, kind of like you, I guess. You have on your channel something about like fighting like anti-vegan nonsense with sarcasm. I don't know if that's the exact word.
Yeah, it's more or
something
less
similar to that.
That's kind of like, yeah, sure. So you're asking what the hardest of all these things is. I mean, I don't know if it's I don't think it's like a particularly, I don't know if the question makes sense really. Obviously there's let's put it this way. The activism that's the hardest to do is the stuff that you won't see online, because you can't put it online because it'll get you in trouble, right? So there's lots of things that animal rights people do offline, including things like they rescue animals, like literally rescue animals from these places, rescue them from being killed, you know? I think that's probably the hardest, you know, because it's tough. You're rescuing animals from people that just want to eat them for a snack, and it's brutal. And you've got to leave the others behind, you know, you can't take everyone. And so that's probably the hardest. And it's, yeah. And it's brutal. If you spent any time in a farm or a slaughterhouse, you would know what I'm talking about. It's once you see their eyes, once you see what they go through, it's really, really hard to walk away and know that what's going to happen to them, you know?
Okay, thank you. So the last question that I listed on the email is, do you think anyone can become a vegan, or are some people too far gone? So like I listed for examples like the Liver King was super popular in the media because he was using steroids, or like even the trolls in your comments. Do you think some people are like just too far gone to ever be vegan? They're too stubborn, too stuck in their like carnist ways? Or do you think that maybe in time they could grow to become vegan?
I think I can hear the echo about it. It's gone away. I think that everyone has the possibility to do better. Everyone has the capacity to change and be good. I don't think anyone's lost. I actually think that even for, you know, the worst of the worst people on earth, they shouldn't be like, I don't, for example, think things like the death penalty is good, for example, because I think you're robbing someone of the opportunity to turn around and actually do something good. And I think, for example, when people, they say they hate a butcher or they hate a slaughterhouse worker, like, oh, fuck those guys. But if those guys turned, they would be the best advocates we could ever hope for. You know, we have ex-butchers, we have ex-slaughterhouse workers who are now vegan and do animal rights activism. So, no, I don't think anyone's too far gone. And I think actually the ones we think are too far gone would become the best people we could ever get to come and talk about and you know, to try and work for animals. But yeah, it's incredibly difficult. You're right, with the people you mentioned, it's really, really hard to get through to them, but I think it's possible. Just take a hell of a long time and a hell of a lot of the right places, the right situations, and just, you know, things that need to fall into place very nicely for that to happen, I think.
Okay, well, I don't have any other questions listed. I couldn't think of any other questions while we were talking.
Yeah.
So
I got some.
Thank you very much for this conversation. It was very interesting.
Yeah, sure. I've got some for you. I was going to say, if you want to answer a few questions yourself.
Oh, sure.
Okay. So what is your situation exactly? You found vegan teacher. When was that? When did you find her?
So I first heard of the vegan teacher. I think maybe a year ago. I never actually saw any of her videos until after I saw a video that was like, the vegan teacher just called out Gordon Ramsay, or like the vegan teacher just did this incredibly crazy stunt. And then I go, whoa, that's weird. And then I go on the vegan teacher's channel, which is how I found out more about her. So that's how I found out about her.
Yeah.
And then one time, so I use a lot of YouTube shorts. I was just scrolling through and I found a video and I was like, who is this guy? Because I've never heard of any vegan activists other than the vegan teacher. I
Right.
mean, I guess I understood somewhere that there were more,
Yeah.
but I'd never seen them.
Right.
I guess I just assumed they were all like the vegan teacher.
Sure. And when was that exactly? So how long ago? I mean, or did you answer that? I'm not sure if I caught it.
I probably started watching like your videos maybe a few months ago.
A few months. Okay.
Yeah.
And so before, I guess you were not a vegetarian, not vegan, just like standard diet. Like, are you American?
Yes, I'm American.
So standard American diet, whatever that is, right? Just eating everything, right?
Yeah.
And now you've been around for all this time. You've done a bit of trolling, and you've come back from that. You came back from the dark side of trolls and decided to be like a real human. So I appreciate that. So where do you stand now then? You've been exposed to a lot of information. You've been watching my videos. You've seen some vegan teacher stuff, probably some other activists too. Where do you stand on it all then? What do you make of all of this? These ideas of veganism and animal rights.
I think, okay, so it's definitely, first off, I've probably said this before, it's definitely opened my eyes. A lot of factory farms, I've looked into those, aren't as good as like you'd think they are. Just farms, in your mind, like nice little cows on a pasture fields, right?
Yeah.
But the same thing that I've also come to understand is that there's a lot of also like free range cows and stuff like that. So I'm not in control of the food that I eat. I'll put it that way. I'm not gonna put a whole ton. I'm not in prison. I don't know why I thought of that, but like, yeah.
You sound relatively young, so I'd assume that your parents or whoever's taking care of that. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm fairly young.
Okay. So that big, yeah, I
But
understand.
yeah, but I don't know. I guess I thought the whole thing was interesting because like before, especially like Veganuary. You probably have heard of that.
Yeah.
Like obviously you've heard of that.
Sure.
But like that's when it was all in the news, and that was when I started like having all these questions, like what counts as veganism, what is that's when I started having these questions. Before that, it was just like, oh yeah, vegans are people who eat vegetables and they don't eat meat. That was like my very simplistic worldview of it.
Right. Okay. And now so for yourself, you mentioned that obviously your situation, you're not in control of the food you eat. But let's imagine you were. Like, how would you be operating? Would you be a vegan now? Or are you not convinced?
Probably not vegan fully. I don't know if I'd eat like I've heard people say like meatless Mondays.
Right.
I probably wouldn't do anything strictless. I probably wouldn't eat as much meat
Sure.
as I do now, just because like so much of the meat I eat is just like unhealthy because I'm traveling a lot for like sports and stuff. So we end up having to stop at like fast food, just like in general, stuff that I don't feel like great about eating. Like, yay, I get to eat more McDonald's or whatever. But like, yeah.
So what would inspire you to do like what would be the reason apart from health? Because you mentioned earlier you've been watching videos from here. You watched Vegan Teacher. You've learned about agriculture and what happens to animals. So I mean, is that somehow influencing your decision to do like a meatless Monday, or is it only the health stuff you're thinking about?
Well, no. Well, okay, hold on. I gotta explain myself because I just said no, and that sounds like automatically like just an answer. But basically, well, I think I'd have to watch. So a lot of the documentaries that people like recommend, like on that Vegan Teacher, even here, they'll be like, watch this documentary, watch this documentary, watch this documentary.
Yeah.
So a while back, I watched Cowspiracy, and that one didn't entirely convince me because it mostly focused on the environment. It was like animal farming is the #1 source of it, but then you Google it now in 2022, it's fossil fuels, whereas that was in 2014. So I was like, well, this is a little bit outdated. So I wasn't entirely convinced, but then all of the other documentaries are age restricted.
Right. Okay.
So I can't watch any of them.
Right. Okay. And do you think? Well, I mean, do you think you need a documentary to tell you that for example, like what happens to an animal in a slaughterhouse. I mean, you know what happens, right? You don't need to see that, surely,
Yeah.
to know what it is, right? And would you say you're supportive of that? This what we're talking about here is an animal. If it's a cow, they'll be hung upside down. They'll be shot in the head first, hung upside down, then they'll have the throat cut. If they're a chicken, they'll be usually electrocuted in a water, like they electrocute water, and then they dip them in, and then they automate. They automated. They go on like a throat slitting machine, and it's like automated, like one after another, and they have these really high speeds. So a lot of the times the chickens aren't even unconscious, and it's like a horror show, if you can imagine. So these are the kind of things that are happening for example, that's just the meat industry. I mean, intuitively, would you say that you're good with that, or would you, without seeing it, or would you think that sounds pretty bad? Like, where do you lie on that?
So for like the factory farms, no, I don't really support those. But as I said, there's a lot more, because I live in a farming area. There's a lot more like free range.
Sure.
Like there's a lot more ethically, we'll say more ethically sourced, just for like the words they use from labeling around there.
Yeah.
And I think the main reason why I'm not vegan, and as I said before, I'm not into getting into not debate. I don't know why I said that, but will it change anything? So I remember sitting down and just thinking, like, if I go vegan right now, if I was to tell all my family and friends, hey, everybody, I'm vegan, right? Well, the people who kill the cows, they're not going to not kill the cows. They don't, like, the person who would have killed the cow that I would have eaten, they didn't not kill that. They'll just send it off to like the packaging people, and they don't care that I've gone vegan. They'll still package it and they'll still send it to the store. And so it'll end up getting consumed anyway by somebody who's hosting a barbecue, and then I won't have changed anything.
So the first point you mentioned about you not liking factory farms, regardless if the animal's factory farmed or free range farmed, they go to the same slaughterhouse. What I described was a slaughterhouse. The standard practice is to shoot them in the head and slit their throats, whether it's free range or factory farmed. So just to be clear on there's no difference. The farmers might kill them themselves at the farm, but they'll still be shot in their head and have their throats slit. That's just the way they do it. So, I mean, this is an incredibly violent thing to do to an animal for something that's not necessary, isn't it? And your point about not making a difference, well, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you're not the kind of person that goes and throws trash on the ground outside. I would hope that it's not you, right?
No.
Well, and why not, though? Because if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it anyway. People try. You've seen the trash on the floor, right? So why not just do it?
Yeah. I kind of I can see where you're going with this, but then at the same time, you've probably heard this all the time, but it's different because with me not eating meat, I can't, like, if I litter and somebody else litters, or if I don't litter and somebody else litters, that's actively adding more. It's like if everybody was in charge, like if everybody got to choose like which animal they wanted to kill and they had to kill it themselves. Me not killing the animal would like directly save that animal's life, but I don't get to do that because I don't work in that industry.
No, but it's
I can't
sure. But it is
directly stop the
yeah.
death.
I get what you're saying, but it is actually more like that than you think, because they don't work for free. You got to understand if the trash argument, it makes sense, because if you're one person, you say I don't make a difference, right? So your whatever X amount of dollars a month doesn't go there, and you might think, well, that's not going to impact anything. But if 1 million people do it, right, well, then it's a lot of money. Right, so they're not going to kill animals for no reason. And if instead of 1 million people, everybody stands around and thinks, well, I mean, I'm just one person, or then all those, then there's no difference being made at all. Do you see the point?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's less about you individually. It's more about many individuals and making that decision. You're part of something a lot bigger. And also just on a personal level, I mean, obviously we're talking there about the impact on the world, right? But on a personal level, as somebody who is if someone is a good person, if someone's actually someone who cares a lot, is a good person, why would they choose to put an animal through that when they don't need to do it? Even if them not doing it makes no difference at all to the world, why would you pay someone to do it? Did you see my point there? It's like, even if it doesn't stop the animal being killed, why would you want to be responsible for that? As an individual who is, wanting to be good, who's wanting to not be a bad person. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's two main reasons. There's two main things that would hopefully convince you or anyone out there. One is just being a good person, and two is being part of many people, not refusing to give money to these people to hopefully reduce and eventually stop what they're doing.
Okay.
So yeah. Now, are you an animal lover? Do you consider yourself an animal lover?
Not particularly, no.
No, fair enough. But you don't want them to be shot and sliced, right? I'd hope so.
Sure, we'll say that.
Well, what's the hesitation? Do you want? Is there any reason you would want that?
Well, it depends on like if you're putting animals through torture, like the torture in the slaughterhouse, like you said before death, then that's like unneeded and cruel. But if you're just the deaths itself, it's kind of hard to word it. I'm having trouble wording this, if that makes sense.
Okay, what happens then? This is not theoretical. This is how it is. Farmers breed animals, right? They create them by usually artificial insemination. They shove hands inside their bodies and inject semen into them. Against their will, they have to tie them up and put them in contraptions to stop them from escaping. Then they have babies. They take those babies away, and then they get the babies bigger, feed them until they get bigger or whatever, and then they shoot them in the head and slit their throat, and then they do more breeding. They have certain ones that they'll breed and certain ones that they'll kill, and this goes on and on and on. That's the system. So, I mean, does that system sound good or bad to you? Do you is it something you sounds like something you like or something?
It doesn't sound great.
Doesn't sound what? Sorry.
It doesn't sound great.
It isn't great. It isn't great. So that is the system, and this isn't. You don't need a documentary for this, but you could see it. But I mean, and that's me explaining it to you in a very, that's a non-graphic explanation, really. I'm not going through, the fear they go through. I'm not talking about, I'm not giving you any kind of that's kind of like a PG, or I guess I don't know what you call it in the States. The like there's R rating and then it goes down.
Yeah.
That's like the most, family friendly way I could explain it, and already you're saying that doesn't sound very good, because it isn't. It isn't, man. So yeah. So I guess the question is, if you're in a position to do something about that, what would hold you back from doing that? So, for example, when you do find yourself in control of where you get food and in a position where you can make a difference, what would hold you back from doing it then? What would stop you from making that difference and being a vegan?
I think the most thing would just be, I think this is just the way the most people who aren't involved in this debate, they don't watch the vegan teacher ever. They just don't think about it. Like me just not thinking about it, or not realizing the consequences probably would be just the main thing. I just do it because that's just what you do, right?
Yeah.
But then just being here, having these conversations, watching these videos, has definitely made me think a lot more than if I'd just gone, oh, I'll just flick past the video.
Right. So you're saying ignorance is bliss, basically. That's the thing that would stop you, just pretending it's not happening.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound very good, does it?
Yeah. Or most people, I mean, with the slaughterhouses, you've seen people show the videos that are this is what actually happens in slaughterhouses. A lot of people don't know. So yeah, I guess again, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. So you've got to decide. I mean, as I said, you're in a position now where you're getting into this, you're learning about these things at a young age, and you've got a choice to make that a lot of people, young people don't get, right? A lot of young people don't even engage with this kind of thing. You can choose to be the kind of person who turns a blind eye to abuse and violence in favor of having a, lying to themselves and having a more convenient life, just eating anything or whatever. Or you can choose to be the kind of person who has some integrity, and who actually looks at these things and says, no, this is wrong, and I refuse to be a part of it, and I'm going to start doing everything I possibly can because these animals don't deserve this, and that's wrong, right? That's on you. I'm trying to convince you to go for what I think is right, and I think what most people think is right, is to not turn a blind eye, never turn away from what's wrong, always stand against bad things, right? When you come across them, always defend the weak. That's what I think. I'd hope that you would make that decision as well.
Okay, and then I have one last question that I just thought of now before I leave.
Sure.
What is your like stance on like the cell grown, like, because I've seen in the news again, like cell grown meat. I saw an article by, I think it was Wired, but it was like behind a paywall, so I couldn't read it. It
Okay.
was like cell grown meat is actually vegan, but then I've seen some vegans here be like, well, no, it still uses animal products,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's not vegan. What is your stance on that?
With the lab stuff, cell stuff. So it's a bit complicated, but the thing is with that stuff is those products are not made for vegans. They're made for people that want meat. So it doesn't really matter if it's vegan or not. I don't think necessarily. But anyway, technically, yeah, most of it isn't, because they are actively taking cells from animals and using them, and it's animal testing. So no, it's not good. It wouldn't technically be a vegan item, but I don't think that really changes anything. As I've said, for the vast majority of people who don't really care about that, if this stuff kicks off and gets very, very cheap and very, very widespread, it will end animal farming for meat. It will end, most slaughterhouses. So I think it's a good thing. But even if it's not a vegan thing, I would rather it exist than not exist. Put it that way.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for having this conversation with me. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you coming on, and I hope that stuff sticks with you. I hope when you are in a position where you can do something, and if that's sooner rather than later, like if your parents give you an opportunity to make some of these decisions, I hope you make the right ones, and you're welcome to stick around on the channel as well. And if you need any advice or anything like that on how to talk to your parents, how to make some changes already, there are people. Sorry, I think I might have cut out there. If you need any help or advice or anything, stick around in the channel. There are people in my live chat. There are people who subscribe who are in a similar position to you, where they've not been able to make these decisions for themselves, but now they are, or they've been able to work it around. So just ask some questions in there and you'll get your answers. And I think people now know that you're not a troll, so they'll be more nice as well. So
Yeah. I remember the day I came in to apologize. I was like, hey, everybody, I feel bad for what I did the other day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And then somebody comes up, she's a troll, don't listen to her. And I was just like, there's nothing I can really do. And I just left.
Yeah, no, don't worry. I remember you coming in, and I remember people got a bit. Yeah, I remember some people got annoyed, but you apologized, and you've made up for it now. I don't think it's not unforgivable. Like I said, everyone's got the capacity to do good, so it's good that you're back now, and yeah, you're welcome to the streams. You're welcome to ask any questions anytime, and now people will be nice. I'm sure of it after this.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Goodbye.
See ya. Cool. Yeah, I think it was a good conversation. I think it's difficult. It's always difficult when we're dealing with somebody who's quite young, who doesn't have the, they can't make decisions for themselves necessarily. And I always try to kind of walk carefully on those with these kind of conversations, because it's like, I don't want to, if I'm talking to someone that sounds quite a lot younger, I don't want to be some weird guy on the internet that's telling them what to do and stuff with their parents and things like that. There's a thin line there between, like, I want to defend animals, I want to give the right information, I want to make sure I give a strong message, but it's I don't know, it's weird to give someone advice on stuff like that. So I'll leave that to you guys with the how to deal with parents and things like that. Someone maybe close to to their age. In the live chat, maybe you guys can point now, if anyone is of like a younger that has had to deal with this stuff with the parents, maybe you can pop it in the live chat right now and say, how did you deal with it? Like, how did you handle dealing with your parents? They make all the choices for what you eat. Like, how did you handle that? How did you discuss that with them? Let us know in the live chat. Thank you so much, Sajoli, for the tip. It says vegan for the win, obviously. Thank you so much. And Mary the Evil Child Scarer also tipped and says, please can you state your ethical position on Mr. Bean so everyone in the chat can quit arguing about it? Mr. Bean? What do you want about? You guys are arguing about Mr. Bean? Is that real? Are you serious? Did I miss that? I'm going back through the chat. Is that just someone trying to like derail us right now? Or like, what's going on? I scrolled up. I didn't see anything. I don't know. Fluhulb says, we should let Alex speak and not discourage him. It's still a voice. We could benefit from him, and smart one too. Nobody can tell him what to do. He can do what he wants. Alex O'Connor, Cosmic Skeptic. This is talking about. No one's, he can do what he wants, can't he? I'm just saying. I don't know if people will listen anymore. That's what I was saying earlier. One rule for me, another for thee, kind of thing. What's the Mr. Bean thing, guys? I'm still trying to catch up with it. I'm gonna have to move on, because I don't really understand what you guys are talking about. Funny. Right, so I don't get what you're asking. Don't dodge. We need your ethical position on Rowan Atkinson. I don't get why you're talking about Rowan Atkinson. So I did get another email from the Cosmic Skeptic fangirl, who also wants to come on. So let's bring the Cosmic Skeptic fangirl on. Wants to come and ask questions and have a conversation. Cool. I'll send the link over to you now, and we can do it. All right, here we go. Here's the link. Okay. Boom. Sent. Sweet. Let's see. He's a sentient being. Oh, that's the joke, is it? That's the joke. Rowan Atkinson, the sentient being. Good one. Good one. You guys are funny. You guys are funny. Are you happy we're doing the Sunday streams? I saw a couple people complaining about the not doing the Sunday streams anymore because I missed 1 week. You guys guilt tripped me into doing another one. All right, here we go. Hello, do you hear me?
I can hear you, Paul.
Okay, cool. So yeah, welcome to the stream. You had a couple of questions for me. So you've been here quite a lot. You've been here since the Cosmic Skeptic, the first video I made, right?
Yes, Paul.
Yes, what?
Yes, Paul.
Okay. So, what were the questions you had then?
Why? Why do vegans are good at guilt tripping, huh?
Why are vegans good at guilt tripping? Is that the question?
Yes, Paul.
It's I guess it's because it's not difficult to make people feel guilty because people actually care about animals. So what vegans are doing is pointing out all the horrible things that happen to animals, and people feel guilty about it because they're paying for it. So we don't really need to guilt trip people. They just feel guilty because they actually aren't evil.
Okay.
So that's the first question. Did you have any more questions? By the way, the audio is pretty bad, by the way. I don't know if you can get closer to the microphone or something.
Oh, poor connection.
Okay. So
Second question is,
yeah.
Is it possible to be vegan in where places it's not common to be vegan? I live in the Philippines.
Oh, you're in the Philippines. Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, no, I know in the Philippines it's very rare, I think. Like it's not very common because I know the Philippines, it's all about meat, right? There's a lot of meat in the Philippines, yeah?
Yeah, lechon is kind of common.
Yeah, I heard about that before. But there are vegans in the Philippines. It is completely possible because you have access to things like, I mean, you have like fruits, vegetables, legumes. You get lentils and chickpeas, rice, quinoa. You know, you get all those foods, right, in the Philippines as well.
Yeah, we eat rice too.
Yeah. So there's lots of options that you get nuts, you get seeds, right? Things like that as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of very scared because I have nothing to say against veganism.
I mean, it's okay. You can say whatever you want. But I've seen you here before. You know, I've seen you in the live chat, and you've been sometimes trolling, but sometimes just asking questions, and it's okay. But look, if you the quality of the call is really bad. It's kind of difficult to hear you. So I can tell you, we can leave it at this point where I'll just tell you that in the Philippines there are vegans, right? It is possible. There are people who work for animals.
There's a time that I saw a vegan restaurant in like around of my Cebu City, so somewhere in Puente.
Yeah.
I saw the vegan restaurant.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, they exist, and there are groups. There's Facebook groups as well. There's like if you put in vegan Philippines, or in your local language, if you put the same words, you'll find people who are ready to help other people who want to be vegan. So it's totally possible. I mean, and if you care about animals, like if you don't want animals to be, shot and stabbed and abused for things like, for a snack, then that's something you can do. You can do that in the Philippines. You can make these decisions. You can be a vegan. What do you think about that?
Nothing. Wala lang.
You think nothing about that? What do you think about animals?
Hindi ko alam. Wala ko kabaw.
I didn't catch that. Could you say again?
I don't know what to say, but I actually saw about animals being tortured, but I just can't give up on Jollibee.
Give up on what? What was the last word?
Jollibee.
What's that?
It's a fast food restaurant. It's common here.
Oh, okay. So what is it like Philippine McDonald's or something?
It's actually the only thing that I like is chicken fillet. The rest is kind of awful.
Yeah. What do you think is more important to you, right? Do you think it's more important for you personally that the taste of something or whether it kills someone or not? Like, what do you think is more important?
I just care about the taste because I am so OA.
You're so what?
I'm so overreacting or like picky on food.
Yeah. Yeah. You're picky with food, you said.
Yes, po.
Yeah. If you're picky with food, maybe you should be picky with the food that comes from a slaughterhouse. And if there was anything maybe you don't want to eat, would you not want to avoid the things that come with blood and guts and that someone screamed and tried to escape from the knife? I mean, if you're going to be picky, I mean, why not be picky and avoid that as the thing to be picky about?
I don't know.
I think if someone's going to be selective and picky about food, I think if you go inside a slaughterhouse and tell me, do you want to eat anything? Do you want? Is that what you want to eat? I'd say probably not if you're a picky eater. And there are also, I mean, there are alternatives you can eat as well that would taste like chicken. So if it's the taste that you want, you can get the taste without the violence. It's just that you've got to make the choice. You've got to make the change. You got to try. It can be done.
Oh, okay.
You can do it. If you want to,
Okay.
if you want to make it happen, if you care, if you don't want animals to be stabbed and cut, then you can do something about it. If you're good,
By not eating meat.
Yeah, if you don't pay people to kill animals, then they won't kill animals for free, right? So if you're eating meat, you pay people to kill animals when you buy the meat. So yeah, if you don't eat it, if you don't buy it, if you don't buy the animal products, you're not paying the people who make them, and instead you buy the other products and you pay those people and you support those people who make food from plants instead, because that's not violent.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
It's reasonable. I admit that I can't give up on meat. I can't give up on taste pleasure. I admit it.
Can't give up on which taste pleasure did you say? Can't give up on taste pleasure.
Pork, chicken.
Yeah, it's like I said, if you think that a chicken having their head cut off is not as important as taste, then well, I mean, I wouldn't. I'd say that you could be quite a dangerous person. You don't sound very dangerous, but that's quite worrying. Do you agree? Would you agree
Yeah.
that if somebody said that to you, like, oh, I don't care about chickens being stabbed because I like how they taste, would you be scared of that person?
I'm kind of scared, kind of psychopathic.
Right, psychopathic. Exactly. It's a scare that's somebody you need to be careful around, right? I mean, but that's what you just said. But I don't think you're like that. And I don't think you want to be like that. So that's a decision. Again, that's a decision you've got to make.
Oh, okay.
Do you think what would you eat if you woke up tomorrow and you have a stomach problem and you can no longer eat meat anymore. You can't have it. It's not possible, right? Or you'll be sick. So what would you eat instead?
Oh no, I just eat plain rice.
But you can't survive on just plain rice. You're gonna need to eat something else, right? What else would you eat?
I'm I'll just I'll I'll try. I'll just eat. I'll just eat. I don't know what I eat if I had any food in my house. I just like um I just ask money from my relatives for me to buy meat.
But
It's
you wouldn't be able to though. You have the problem. You can't eat meat. That's the idea in this. So you don't know
yeah,
basically. You don't know what you would eat, right? You're not sure.
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there is a pancit canton, I'll just eat it instead.
Yeah. So this is the problem, right? This is the you don't want to sound like a psychopath who likes to see animals killed for food, but then you don't know what else to eat. So that's a problem. So that's why you would need someone to show you what to eat that's tasty, what to eat that will make you, get nutrition, make you happy without meat. You'd need some help with that, right?
Yes,
Would you like help with that? Was that something you'd be interested in?
I don't know.
Why don't you know?
I just don't know.
Explain. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know. I don't know who to help with.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there is a completely free like website and people, volunteers, some of them in the Philippines, that they actually help people for free to learn about how to get good food, tasty food, nutritious food without meat. And they teach you for free how to do that. So you can learn how to get all the things that you like without killing chickens, without killing animals. Is that interesting to you?
I'll try lang po.
I don't know. Is that interesting? Yes or no?
Maybe,
Maybe.
but it's so expensive.
What? This is free though. What I just told you is free, and they teach you how to do. They teach you how to do this in a way that is not expensive. They're trying to show you ways to live where you can get the nutrition and the taste without spending a lot of money is also part of it. And also, as someone just pointed out in the chat, meat is expensive, isn't it? So
Yes, it's true.
yeah. So would that help you? The thing I just said, would that help you? Would you check that out and see what these people have to say? These people in the Philippines who would help you for free.
Maybe.
What would stop you from looking at it?
I don't know.
So why is it a maybe? This can be the first day of your anti-animal abuse life. You can take the first step today for free, and there are people who are willing to help you. Why not do it?
Why I can't do it because I'm kinda dependent. Second, I only eat something that's on the table.
Right. I'm not following what you mean. What does that mean? Okay, I didn't understand the last bit, but I'll just say one thing and then you can yeah, take it. I recommend you do this. It's up to you if you do it or not, but it's quite difficult to hear you. So I'll say this one last thing and then you can take it. So Annie will put in the live chat right now on the stream the link to a website that will help you for free with people in the Philippines to be able to get food and get nutrition, get things that you like without killing without killing animals, without abusing animals. And you can get that for free. It's called challenge22.com. So I hope
It kind of sounds familiar. Is it what Vegan Gains was like talking about in his stream about when Alex is having problems? Like you can go to the
yeah,
vegan.
probably. It's probably the same thing. So it's probably the same thing. It's free, challenge22.com. And yeah, you sign up and it's people like qualified people who will help you for free. And they could have helped Alex as well. That's true. And they can help you also.
So another question. So how can you say that Alex is like a troubled person just because of like telling about yung mga IBS issue niya?
A troubled person, did you say?
Yes.
Because he had his health issues, and instead of going to professionals and speaking with professionals who could have helped him to continue not doing this to animals, not stabbing animals and healing himself, he decided to just start doing it again without actually seeking the advice of people who could have helped him. So I think it's in his video he didn't really give a good enough justification for that. Like he said it himself, extraordinary violence requires extraordinary justification. I don't think that he gave extraordinary justification. I think there's a lot more he could have done before he just made that decision. And plus, somebody in the comments did say, Alex himself has said that he is a troubled person. Like he actually has said that himself as well. Like he's going through some troubling things. So yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But I actually appreciate on you like condemning the other vegans or actually like harassing him through like DMs.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's a line. There's a fine line between telling him what you think and defending animals and attacking him and even attacking him is not a problem really, because he's a YouTuber. It happens. People will call him names. It doesn't matter. Whatever. But to wish death on him is too far, and to wish cancer on him is too far. This is too far. It's too much. But I do think that he's it's very bad what he's done. Yeah, I've said everything I've said about him. I don't support his decision. I think it's horrible that he's decided to start doing this to animals again. And I hope that you won't be like that. And I hope that you make changes. And I hope lots of people make changes in their life and don't do what he's doing. Because it's very bad what he's doing to animals.
I feel sorry for him.
You should feel more sorry for the animals that he's putting in slaughterhouses again. But yeah, I definitely don't. I feel bad for what he's going through, but I don't think it justifies what he's now putting animals through. It's not fair. It's not a. You can't hurt others because you're hurting. That's not fair, is it?
Okay.
Do you agree? Like if you have problems, it's not fair for you to give others problems, is it?
Mm, uh, it's not okay.
No, it's not okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. If you have pain, you can't make somebody else feel pain just because you have pain. That's not fair. That's not reasonable. So yeah, so I don't support what he's doing for that reason.
Okay.
Okay. So do you have any more questions for me?
Um, another one. So, what what makes you do for like making response video for Alex? I'm kinda just lang asking lang sa
Why did I make the videos?
ka asking asking for the person.
So wait, why did I make videos about Alex, you mean?
Yes.
Because
Actually, I chatted with my friend. He also got angry, like people making fun of Alex. Well, I'm just find it entertaining.
he got angry because I didn't really make fun of him. I mean, I did, okay, maybe I made fun of him a little bit, but because look, we're talking about a guy who said extraordinary violence, or whatever the word he used, requires extraordinary justification. And then he sits there on camera and says he's got IBS and therefore he needs to go and put extraordinary violence on animals. I mean, it's crazy to have somebody who says one thing, then does another thing in such a big dramatic way. So, of course, I made videos about him because I wanted to make sure there was a response to the bad things he was saying. I don't know him. I don't know if he's a good person or a bad person in real life. I don't know if he's a nice guy. All I know is he's doing something very bad right now, and I'm going to tell everybody why it's very bad. It needs to happen. So it's not like I don't hate him. I don't know him. You know, it's nothing like that. It's not even personal. Like, yes, I'd say maybe I'm pissed off. I'm not happy with him, and I make fun of him and I make jokes about him. But it's not a hatred thing. You know, I'm just telling people why I disagree with him and why what he's doing is wrong.
Okay, but since like I was so overwhelmed with some of them memes. So by because actually I find it entertaining
Yeah.
because of how ridiculous they are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess some people can yeah. I see what you mean about the entertainment because yeah, some vegans definitely were very excited and very um like shouting and stuff. So I get what you mean by entertaining, but remember, yes, it can be entertaining and yes, it can be funny to watch, but remember, these vegans, most of them, they're not doing this for fun. They're doing this because they care about animals and they want it to stop, you know? They want animals, they don't want animals to be tortured and killed. So I get what you mean about the entertainment. Yes, it can be funny to watch someone, you know, shouting at camera and stuff. I get that. But try to understand there's a very serious message there as well. These people really, really don't want animals to be tortured, and that's really important. They don't want animals to be killed and, you know, for a burger. So if you're going to keep watching this stuff, just try to remember that and ask questions if you want help, if you want to understand stuff. You're welcome at everybody's live streams, but you should be asking questions and learning about why people do this, why people are vegan.
Okay, maybe like that's it lang
All right.
po. I'm kind of shy, but it's my first time. But I don't want people like dox me or
Okay.
like yeah yeah to like report to my like school admin of what I'm doing here. I'm kind of scared for that, but
Right.
anyways, it's a good conversation.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no one's gonna dox you or anything like that. You've not done anything wrong. But I just hope that
Okay.
you take everything we've said seriously, and you know that link I told you about. I mean, go and look at it, and you'll learn a lot about food. Because right now, you said you don't even know what to eat if you don't eat meat. So you should learn about this. You should learn about the food you can eat that's healthy and nutritious without killing animals, right? That's something very important.
Maybe I'll try lang. Like, kuan. Maybe, so, bye lang, bye.
Yeah. Cool. That's just me again. That was a weird conversation, guys. I didn't really know how long to keep it going for, because every time I kind of tried to kind of get out of it, it was she carried on asking questions, and then I felt rude to not answer the questions, you know. So it continued and continued, even though the audio was really bad, you know. But yeah, we did what we did. We did it the best we could. Nick says, if you had to kiss a carpet, what kind of carpet would it be and why? What is wrong with you guys today? I don't know. What types of carpets are there? Okay, it would be a clean carpet from a brand new clean carpet. I wouldn't kiss a dirty carpet. There you go. That's the answer to the question. I don't really know, like, you guys, man. All right. Flovulb, thank you so much for the tip, mate. It says, what is your position on cans, beans, chickpeas, and lentils? This guy told me they use carcinogenic gas alongside nitrogen to kick oxygen out. No idea. I don't really eat anything out of a can at this point. We don't get really canned stuff where we live, but I would. But I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell you anything about that because I've never heard of it before. And there you go. Maybe somebody who knows more can tell us a bit more about it. I kiss a magic carpet. A couple people said the same thing. That's funny. You guys are weird. You guys are weirdos. What an interesting stream this has been. It took a turn, didn't it? Went from Humane Hancock, Cosmic Skeptic to a little convo about veganism with a good faith individual, and then a weird kind of Cosmic Skeptic fangirl back and forth, taking it back to the Cosmic Skeptic topic. So that was fun. I mean, well, I don't think fun's the right word. Interesting, I think is the word. I did my best, guys, but it's tricky, isn't it? It can be tricky to outreach when there's like, oh, it's bad audio and I can't really hear what's going on. And I don't think she was really taking it seriously either. I'm trying to take it seriously myself, but you know, sometimes it goes that way, guys. Sometimes it goes that way when I'm doing these public Discord debates too, where it's like, you know, the person's not taking it seriously, but you've got to kind of take it seriously because you want to get a good message out, and it's a bit complex, isn't it? Yeah. I just got an email now from someone, from Jonathan, says, listening to the live stream now, when the guy didn't show up to defend Sadhguru, I thought it'd be funny to volunteer to play devil's advocate, even though there's only one thing I could try to defend. So that would have been funny if someone would have come on to play devil's advocate or something. But yeah. Where was it? When he said the thing about society using or slaughtering animals, I took this meaning to be sociological rather than moral. The society wouldn't just take care of cows without seeing them as useful. Clarifying what he meant. I know what he. Yeah, thanks for that, for the clarification, Jonathan, with the email. I know what he meant, but it's the certainty of the way he puts it. Like, oh, this is just it. This is just it. He doesn't even make an attempt to say, oh, maybe we could convince people, you know, to not do this to them. We can. He just kind of blanket statements like, oh, it's this or it's this. Choose one. That's what bothered me about it. But yeah, appreciate it. Oh, Vegan Rebel joined as a meat flake challenger. Says, thanks for being a great voice for the animals and being so patient. Hopefully she's one step closer to making the change. Hey, thank you so much, Vegan Rebel. Oh, you used your like special comment privilege. Yeah, everyone's got one. Everyone in the membership team, I think you get one per month, I believe it is. I think it's something like that. To make like a special comment like that. Very cool. Thanks, Vegan Rebel, you legend. Nick, is me laughing when David didn't realize he said Nick her. Yeah, you why do this, guys? Why do this? And it doesn't even sound like that anyway. I didn't say it fast enough for it to be like that. Good try though. Good try. I don't know why would you even try to get me to do that? You try to like clip it out and put up a video of me cancelled or something. You guys. So I guess nobody else wants to come on and chat, and nobody wants to talk about fucking Sadhguru. I gave this Sadhguru guy, oh my god, the whole bloody day. Now it's been multiple hours. He's not said anything. Can you believe that? Unreal. Just unreal. Oh man. Well, anyway, we had fun, didn't we? We talked about Humane. We talked about Jack Hancock's video. We talked about. We had a couple of debates. It was nice. We had some fun. I think I'll wrap it up there, guys. So, remember, I shouldn't tell you I'm wrapping it up because then I can't plug the Ram Fam team, can I? Because you'll start leaving. But guys, definitely consider joining the Ram Fam. Yeah, the YouTube memberships team is one way of doing that, to support what I'm doing, to support these streams, to support all the work that I'm doing. You get a cool green logo on your name, which is very cool. And you get those like feature comments from time to time, which is awesome. Or you could also join the Patreon team, which is in my opinion the better option, because bear with me, you get to DM me actually and talk to me about anything, and I'll reply to you almost instantly, but sometimes it might take a little like an hour or two or something like that. But I keep a track of the Patreon DMs like very closely, because you guys, you get that privilege by being a part of the team, right? And a consistent part of the team. So that's what you get. So definitely consider that, guys. Patreon.com/David Rams, or just click join right here on the video, and you can do one or the other, or do both. And you're supporting my work right here and off screen, which at the end of the year, you're going to know something very, very, very big that we're doing, that you're going to be very happy you supported, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who tipped today. Even the one that tried to make me say the N-word. Appreciate it. Thanks for that. Damn you guys. Hope that's not going to get clipped out and used somewhere else. But yeah, keep calling it that BS, guys. I'll catch you all in the next one.